One running back is always better than two. There is no controversy, and I'll tell you why as we discuss the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen here on Locked On Jaguars, where we discuss a lot of things. We're going to get into a whole bunch of that today. Also, I have to let you know that today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Game Time. That's right, man. Go over there and download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. A lot to discuss here on Locked On Jaguars, where the Jags are sitting currently at 2-5, right, with a big stretch of games coming up. So here's what we're going to discuss today about those games. 21-day news. A couple of guys have had their window open, according to PR. Got that email a few minutes ago that Foye Oluokun and Dewey Wingard are both, Andrew Dewey Wingard, have their 21-day window open to return from the injured list. We'll go over that. Buy or sell. A lot of people out there thinking that if the Jaguars lose another game, that they ought to start selling off some assets. We'll get into that. And no running back controversy. People are mad at me because I won't get mad at Doug for just go ahead and saying that Tank is running back one, right? Speaking of buying or selling, I saw a trade scenario out there that actually involved Travis Etienne. So we'll put all of that in a nutshell and get you out of here in about 28 minutes after we discuss the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's get back to the very top, though, and not bury the lead. By the way, thank you to the everydayers that join us. We love you here on Locked On Jaguars. There is no controversy to me. And I get that a lot of people have forgotten how good of a player Travis Etienne has been. A lot of it is because he's been banged up. He can't seem to shake off the injuries. The other thing is he fumbled that ball early the first week in Miami, and people haven't forgotten about it. Period, point blank, in the discussion. He's been a little bit of a disappointment if you consider the fact that coming into this season, the Jaguars, I heard somebody say they thought he was going to get 1,700 yards. 1,700 yards for the season combined. They have big plans for him. At every turn over the last couple of weeks, Doug Peterson, whenever he's been asked about a controversy, he praises Tank Bigsby, everybody's favorite right now. I'm going to get to that in just a second, too. He praises Tank Bigsby, who leads the team with 415 yards rushing. But he says, hey, man, Travis Etienne's, he's still our guy. Travis Etienne is sitting at 230 yards rushing. That's 185-yard difference. But get this, only an 11-carry difference. Tank has only had the ball 11 more times. He's averaging 6.2 yards a carry, whereas Travis Etienne is averaging 4.1 yards a carry. So there's obviously a lot of people that are clamoring for more Tank Bigsby. And I'm not mad at you. I am not mad at you for wanting more Tank Bigsby. But here's what I got to remind everyone of. And Tank reminded everyone of this in the preseason. He doesn't care about your applause because he didn't care about your criticism last year when we were calling him can't get right. And I said we, not y'all. We were calling him can't get right because it seemed like every time he got out there, something weird happened and something unfortunate happened for him that just did not allow him to just get going. He was never able to really get on track, man, and be the guy that you see him being today. I never, ever questioned whether or not they should take him. A lot of folks did. This ain't about y'all though, so we're not going to beat the people up that went out of their way to say that it was a bad draft pick because they already had a running back. I think you need multiple running backs. I think Detroit is really showing folks who didn't know. I mean, I think the people who already knew kind of understood the two running back dynamic. I mean, you watch the New England Patriots win a dynasty using whoever at running back, and all three of them, guys that did specific things. Sometimes they'd have a guy like James White who could catch the ball, and Kevin Falk, and then other times they'd have a power player, a player who was very, very powerful, who could run the football between the tackles. You've seen this before. Derrick Henry is a little bit of an anomaly, but even looking at Baltimore, they got Justice Hill. He provides the yin to Derrick Yang, or the yang to his yin, or whatever it is, right? They go together. It's peanut butter and jelly. It's fire and ice. It's lightning and thunder and lightning, whatever you want to call it. You can have multiple things that work together at the same time. I think the biggest part of this is Etienne's being unhealthy, and not being able to make those positive contributions to the team. And then, believe it or not, Dearness Johnson comes into the game in the second running back role, and he has a lot of skill set and does a lot of things that Etienne does. He might be a little more slippery because even though Etienne's built, he's not tall. He's 5'11", 6 feet tall, big tree trunk legs, but he's considered an airbag. He's considered a dude that's in the same, maybe not as good, obviously, but he's considered a guy that's the type of running back that an Alvin Kamara is, where he can catch it, he can run it, he can run between the tackles, he can run outside, he can do a whole bunch of things. But you still want to limit his touches because he's not a big guy. Well, Tank Bigsby is big. Tank is like 215 pounds, 5'11", rocked up, might be 6 feet tall at best, runs extremely hard, right? And for a team that has guys that get hit really, really quick because the offensive line at the very least has been sketchy sometimes, that ability to break those tackles or to get past or beyond that first contact and to have that body lean where you get that last half a yard, that really helps the team. But Travis Etienne is also a guy who can take it the distance if you give him a screen pass. He's a long strider for a running back. Usually you think of long striders, you think of Eric Dickerson and a tall guy. But if you watch Travis Etienne with the way that he runs, he takes big steps, whereas Tank Bigsby's steps are a little more short and choppy. The feet they seem like they hit the ground a little bit quicker. And if he needs to do something, a little jump cut or a change of direction, it just seems like with his running style, it works better. But Doug Peterson is steadfast in the thought process that there is no controversy. If they're both healthy, Etienne's the guy. But what I will tell you is this: I'm all about players over plays. And what that is if a guy goes into the game, you know what he does best, do what that guy does best. But don't call a play just to be able to stick a guy in the game who does that best, because that's the play you want to run. So I'm all about having two really good football players. We don't have to pit them against each other. They're friends. And then the one that you're trying to elevate anyway, publicly, was the one that you dogged last year, and he hurt it. And he doesn't care. So I think sometimes we can create drama where drama doesn't exist because we just kind of feed off of that stuff. But Travis Etienne has a fifth-year option already, over $6 million. They picked up the option. Does that mean he will always be a Jacksonville Jaguar? Not necessarily. Doesn't mean he'll be a Jaguar for the rest of this season. Doesn't mean he'll be a Jacksonville Jaguar for next year. I think a lot of that depends on how the rest of the season goes and whether or not the Jaguars are going to buy into their own guys, or is they're going to start selling people for assets. And I hate the sound of saying selling people for assets, but selling off contracts and trading talent to get back draft picks. We're going to discuss that. What is the threshold to the point where they will start doing that? And then who would the candidates be that they do it? We discuss it here on Locked On Jaguars. I got to let you know about FanDuel, man. FanDuel is the absolute truth. They are where I go to have a really good time on Sunday, even when my team isn't winning, because I can win me some Skrilla. NFL fans, if you start the season, you better start it with FanDuel because you're going to get a big return from America's #1 sportsbook. You ever played, and then when you're on these pages and you're looking at your wagers, but you want to check stats, you want to see, you want to check the game summary, you want to see who has the ball. Sometimes you got to refresh your page and go to another page. And if you might be in a bad place and you get logged out, now you got to start that process all over again. You don't have to do that at FanDuel because wherever you make your bets, that's exactly where you can check your stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And check this out, before you even get into all of that, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you placed your first $5 bet. Your first $5 bet will get you $200 in bonus bets guaranteed whether you win or not. So make sure you visit FanDuel. That's FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by LinkedIn. That's right. If you have a business, a small business, and you're just starting that business, or the business already exists, but you need more talent, put into your system. You need to find more eligible candidates who are looking to work. Well, LinkedIn is the place for you because when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. They only visit LinkedIn, and they might not even be looking for a job, but they might see something that actually entices them to want to take a closer look, and that closer look might lead them to you. If you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Moseying along here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen or watch wherever you get your podcast. Buying or selling. A lot of rumors out there as the trade deadline, which comes up in November, gets a little bit closer. Folks are wondering, with injuries to other teams, who's on the trading block? I saw an ill-informed trade the other day that had when Aiden Hutchinson got hurt. And the irony is that they're always comparing Aiden Hutchinson to Josh Allen. Trayvon Walker and Trayvon Walker back to Aiden Hutchinson. Someone says that they ought to trade for Josh Allen. Whoever said that, I want them to go look at Josh Allen's contract. In fact, I may try to pull that up real quick for you, but Josh Allen signed a deal. You don't normally see guys sign a deal, get bonus money, and get bonus money and then get traded the very first year. It's not the NBA. The NBA, whatever the contract is, that's what you're paid per year. Okay. That's just the way that this goes. That's what you're paid per year. It is not detrimental to make a trade. Once you sign a player to a contract, it's not detrimental to make an immediate trade because all you're giving him is his salary for that season. Well, in the NBA, in the NFL, they have this bonus thing, right? In 2024, Josh Allen is making $35 million. What that means is some of that is a prorated signing bonus. Some is a roster bonus, some is base salary, some is incentives. So he has a $35 million cap hit. Well, cash, not cap hit. He has $35 million in cash that he made this season. And that would indicate to me that since his salary, his cap hit is only $11 million, that's going to leave a whole bunch of money left over to be desired if they did try to move him or make a trade. That's just the way that it goes. In the NFL, you do not see a whole bunch of guys get traded after they signed a long-term deal, even if that long-term deal, the extension kicks in the following season. So it really makes no sense That's one that made me laugh, almost laugh out loud. Teams don't do that. They don't pay a dude a whole bunch of money and then trade him and have to eat a whole bunch of dead. See, if they trade him, or they let's see, if they trade him pre-June 1st, right? They got $32 million in dead money. Teams just don't do that. They don't pay you. Some of the money that they gave him up front is for future services. If they trade him, that's sunken cost. They never get the future services, and they never get the running back. And it's like if they traded him to Detroit's like, oh, okay, I appreciate it. All we owe him is his salary now. That amortization of the bonus does not get spread out of the life of the contract. You got to eat that in dead money. That makes absolutely no sense. So when people say stuff like that, some of the they have to ignore. When a guy signs a long-term deal with a team, he is there at least for a couple of years until they can get it worked out. That's why if that's the case, Cleveland would just cut Deshaun Watson, and you can't do it. They owe him all of their money. His contract is fully guaranteed, even though Josh's wasn't fully guaranteed. There was a large portion of it that was. The majority of his contract was. So then when they give you the money in a bonus form, they have to keep you. That's why character and all of that stuff matters so much when you pay these dudes a lot of money. Another name that I keep hearing come up, and that might be a little bit realistic, is Travis Etienne. But what do the Jaguars actually get for him? What do they get for him? He has one more year left on his deal, which is the 5th-year option. Are teams really out there clamoring for running backs right now? Are there teams really pushing for a playoff spot that's hurting at the running back position? I don't think the Chiefs are hurting at the running back position. They just don't have the dude. They don't have Isaiah Pacheco, who's really, really good, but who's sitting there hurting for running backs? If somebody went out and came and got Travis Etienne, that's just because they probably think that Travis Etienne is a weapon. I've heard the Chiefs name connected to Christian Kirk. I've talked to the guys at Locked On Chiefs, my man Chris Clark. He basically said they don't have any money. You trade for Christian Kirk, you got to eat his contract for the rest of the season. He said the Chiefs don't have that kind of money. That's why they didn't go after DeAndre Hopkins, and that's why they didn't go after Amari Cooper. They didn't go after anybody, and Cooper's money isn't even that bad. He said they just don't have the bread. They don't have it. They don't have the space. So be careful and be wary that when you hear stuff like that with these big names, that the team that you're trying to attach these players to and associate these players with, be careful of the fact that you might just be doing that for nothing, because those teams might not be able to absorb those contracts. But if they could, if that didn't have anything to do with it, without mentioning Josh Hines Allen, because I won't do it, who would be some guys that you believe would be tradable? I think Devin Lloyd is tradable. But you gotta ask yourself, okay, who's out there that's in the hunt for the playoffs that's going to give us anything worthwhile for a linebacker? A linebacker that hasn't really found his true position in the NFL and doesn't really do any one thing that great. Roy Robinson Harris was moved. He was moved seemingly because, well, they have depth at the position, according to, we didn't hear from Trent Baalke, we heard from Doug Peterson that they have depth at the position. He was making a lot of money. So it sounds like what they're saying is, look, man, he's making a lot of money. He's rotating with other guys that are just as good as he is. And that's what we've been saying all of this time. Why are you rotating so many people? If they're all equal, why are some guys making way more money than others? And that's another situation where the Jags are going to eat dead cap space. They might save a few dollars in salary that they were going to pay him, but they still got to eat the dead cap space for the money that they already gave Roy Robinson Harris. And that pales in comparison to somebody like Joshua Hines Allen. They ain't gonna move Gabe Davis because he's in the first year of a 3-year deal. They ain't moving him. That doesn't make sense. That's likely another dead cap situation. Walker Little. All of this is contingent, by the way, on the Jaguars losing. If they lose to the Packers and they go to 2-6, it probably makes it more likely that they'll do something. And I think this is the last game. They may have one more game before the trade deadline. So what is the threshold? Is it losing 6 games? Is it losing 7? Are you going to wait till you're mathematically eliminated? Do you do all of this in the offseason where you don't get anything? I heard people talking the other day about Cam Robinson. That would be a good move to go ahead and ship him off now, because you're probably not going to retain him, and see if you can get a day 3 pick for him from like the Dallas Cowboys, who need an offensive lineman, and they're a team that's reaching for it right now. To me, that's the one that makes more sense than any of this stuff. We'll discuss more of that, finish that off, and then finish the show off talking about the good news with some guys who may be coming back from injuries. We'll do all of that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. I got to let you know about Game Time, man. Game Time is the place that you need to go to get tickets for any event, no matter where you're trying to go and what you're trying to see. Game Time is the absolute truth. It is the app that has so many advantages, and they take the guesswork and all of the hard work out of buying tickets. They have Game Time Picks, which is a curation process that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. All-in pricing toggling. This feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, the lowest price guarantee, and Game Time ticket coverage. All of that works out for you. And then they won't get on you about buying tickets late. They'll actually help you out because they specialize in late tickets, even after the event has already started. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code. I'll spell it out for you. LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. All right, moving along here on Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day. We covered no running back controversy as far as I'm concerned. 2 running backs are better than 1. Buying or selling. Talked about that said running back maybe being in some trade dialogue from other people. And went over some other scenarios because the Jaguars said they'll always listen. They will always take a phone call. And I'm wondering, though, if the Seattle phone call came from Seattle or if it came from Jacksonville. But I think it probably came from Seattle because they were the ones. A lot of people have said that they were surprised that they took the Roy Robertson Harris contract. But, hey, they won the other day. They won, and now they're 4-2. So Roy Robertson Harris, he's probably thanking his lucky stars that he's not sitting here. And people run, or 4-3, I believe they are. Nobody's talking about them missing the playoffs and all of this bad news and this gauntlet of 5 games that they have. And this all might be premature because the Jaguars just might go on a little bit of a winning streak. They might get it together, pull it together a little bit, and all of a sudden get to the point where they're going to keep everybody and try to make a run at this thing down the stretch. A lot of it also has to do with the stability of not so much head coach Doug Peterson, but the stability of Trent Baalke, the GM. And whether or not they start to move parts and pieces might have a lot to do with the fact that we got to first know what Shad Khan's intentions are if the Jaguars continue to lose, what his intentions are with Trent Baalke. And who does Shad consult with on giving Baalke the go-ahead to go ahead and start getting assets? Shad knows how to do that, by the way, because I really believe that's what they did in 2020. That's just, ain't nobody tell me that, but I think enough hints were thrown that they did not want to sign a bunch of players in free agency. They knew they needed a quarterback, and they slow played the situation in free agency and signed a bunch of journeyman guys that were probably here for a year. Then subsequently had a bad draft also. So it's almost like that year didn't really exist, right? That's the C.J. Henderson year and the Caleb Chason year. It was just an atrocious draft, in my opinion. Even though a couple of those players end up sticking and going to other places, but for the most part, it's a wash when you get 2 first-round picks, and neither one of them has done anything insignificant or of significance in the NFL. And both of them were picked right ahead of a guy named Justin Jefferson, who's like one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in the NFL. So, yeah, you got to draft better too. But selling, I don't know. We mentioned some players already that may have value. Walker Little, Cam Robinson. I'm trying to figure out maybe if there's a team that wants a veteran guard down the line, you can move Brandon Sheriff. Looking at the rest of the team, if somebody they're depleted at safety, like the Jaguars are depleted at safety, maybe Andre Cisco or somebody like that. But I do think the most likely people are guys like Chad Muma and Devin Lloyd, or maybe Cam Robinson. I think if you want to think about them possibly moving on from somebody before the trade deadline, those are going to be the guys. Now, they're getting a little bit of help on the defense here in the next couple of weeks at least. For a few weeks. The 21-day window is now open for both Andrew Wingard, and Foye Oluokun, the linebacker. They're going to be in a really, really good spot to get both of those guys back, because the team has actually struggled at safety a little bit. And they also, hopefully, at one point, we haven't heard from the NFL or why they're doing it or what their reasoning is for not reinstating Tayshaun Gibson. But he's another player that could probably help them a little bit on the back end with his veteran presence. I'm interested to see when Foye comes back and they line him up next to Ventrell Miller, if they do that. First of all, if they play those two guys side by side, because now you have two flow to the ball, quick, triggering, know how to read things linebackers, playing pure linebackers, guys that look like they've been playing linebackers since they were babies, as opposed to having real good athletes at linebacker who sometimes don't instinctively do things that you like them to do. So all of these things can be ironed out. We'll keep a close eye on it. A lot of it is contingent on what the Jaguars do Sunday in the game against Green Bay. And then I think those discussions will heat up next week of whether or not they're going to start moving off of some assets, because if they lose another game, and depending on how they lose the game, it may give us even more clarity, more sure clarity on what Shad Khan's plans are for next season. Your plan should be to watch Locked On Jaguars and then Locked On NFL. You see your boy twice on there. That's right. Locked On Jaguars, I'll be here first, and then watch or listen to Locked On NFL. But there's a thing about that. There's two shows. There's one in the morning with Tyler, the Madman Roland, and then there's me coming through the barbershop at lunchtime. Make sure wherever you watch, listen, or hear those podcasts, you check them out so you do not miss an episode. Thank you for joining today. We will have more coverage for the Jacksonville Jaguars each and every day later on this week. And of course, leading all the way up to game time, and then a postcast immediately after the game on Sunday, crossover on Thursday, sponsored by Prize Picks, of course, and more Jaguars talk. Anything breaks, I'll do like I always do. I'll put the information out there and let you know what's going on with the team. Until then, though, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for taking care of us. We'll do the same. See you later.